Hey guys, Monochrome here. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. Genuinely good to have you. Okay, I do not have a playlist entitled Extremely Recently Discontinued EDC Items Still Available at Online Shops, maybe at a discount, that you might like to check out and buy while they're still available at those shops, even if they're discontinued. Yeah, I don't have a playlist with that title or anything remotely like it. And yet, for some bizarre reason, every time I'm testing out EDC gear, every time I'm testing out an item that might be useful for bugging out, it's, well, a surprising number of items that I have bought maybe a year or two ago, and I've been testing them out for review purposes for this channel. I usually look up the measurements online, and just like my other videos, once again, this particular item, full specs in the description box below. But yeah, there is a surprising number of times I keep stumbling onto the words discontinued when I look up the items online from reputable sources. And unfortunately, that's the case today as well. We're going to be looking at the Cold Steel Pro Lite. Now, for those of you who want a large pocket knife, you want something modern day, but you want the general shape design to be more traditional, something along the lines of a classic Buck Model 110. Well, this might be the knife for you. Let's take a look. Okay, there's the modern aspect. You do get a pocket carry clip that is reversible, tip-up carry only though. But if you prefer tip-up carry and you're a left-hander, good news, this knife is completely ambidextrous. And one thing I don't like, Cold Steel's shiny clip that actually says Cold Steel on it. Good way of advertising what's clipped to a person's pocket. Never been a fan of that. But okay, so what do you get? Well, you get a thumb stud opener, dual thumb studs, but as you can see, it is biased for right hand use. I believe you can unscrew the thumb stud here and reverse it so that the bias is on the left hand side if you're a lefty. I believe you can do that, although personally I've never done it. But yeah, thumb stud opener, both sides, biased for the right hand as it comes out of the package. Now, this knife features the Andrew Demko Triad lock. Now, this might seem as though it's a somewhat midpoint traditional top lock or rocker lock. Now, from the outside, it does look that way, but no, the internals are different. Now, I'm not going to go over all of the specifics. That would be a much, much longer video. And we all know Cold Steel's reputation and the owner of the company's reputation, Lynn Thompson. Let's set those aside for now. Mr. Thompson claims that the Andrew Demko Triad lock, as found on a large number of Cold Steel models, is the strongest lock mechanism in the industry. And once again, setting aside his reputation, Honestly, this is one time when I don't think he's exaggerating. This lock mechanism is ridiculously strong, and ironically, the longer you own it and the more you open and close the knife, the mechanism actually gets stronger. Once again, I won't go into detail. I know there are videos on YouTube. Basically, just use the search function for triad lock. That's TRIAD lock. Triad lock. Possibly, genuinely the strongest lock mechanism in the industry. Now, with a traditional rocker lock or top lock, if you see a gap like that in between the spine of the lock mechanism in the forward position and the spine of the blade on the rear position on a traditional rocker lock, that means there's something horribly wrong with your lock mechanism. On a triad lock, that gap is normal. So let's just get that out of the way. It's normal. You get a nice 3.5-inch clip point blade shape. Now, in person and a bit on camera, as you can see, that looks like a stonewash finish. But as you can also see, it's surprisingly reflective, as if it's a satin finish. This is weird. I've never seen this before. It's as reflective as a satin finish, but it looks like a stonewash finish. So there's that. The tip, very thin, needle thin. So you are going to have to be a bit careful with this knife depending on what you're using it for. But as you can see, very traditional clip point blade shape. It's not quite as upswept as something you'd find on a traditional Buck Model 110, but still quite a traditional blade shape. Okay, the steel is one I've never heard of before. It's 4116 German stainless steel. It's definitely not a premium steel, certainly not at the price that you can usually find the Pro Lite selling for. And that's a good thing. That means this blade will be easy to resharpen when it gets dull. Realistically, don't expect it to hold an edge for an extremely long amount of time. Okay, going towards the handle and towards the top. There's no jimping here except on the top of the GRN handle scales. And the GRN handle scales look like plastic. They're actually fiberglass reinforced nylon. Blade length 3.5 inches, handle length 4.5 inches. So this is a pretty sizable large pocket knife, and it does allow you to get a good solid grip. All 4 fingers, as you can see, very easily around the handle, and this is one of the most comfortable one-handers I have ever used. Extremely comfortable. Now, when you look at the handle shape, you got this portion here. That doesn't look too comfortable. Once again, I wear large-sized gloves, and this is just very comfortable. Honestly, one of the most comfortable folding knives I have ever had the pleasure of holding in my hand. This is ridiculously comfortable. The scales are not completely flat. They are a bit rounded on the sides, so that's good. And yeah, just a little bit of jimping on the scales on both sides towards the front of the locking bar. Going further back. Now, this very rough looking sandpaper texture is not very rough at all. It's more of a cat's tongue roughness. You can feel it. It's not smooth, but not rough at all. It looks rougher than it looks. But still, the handle shape and the bit of pebbled texturing that you get here does a really good job of making sure this knife won't slip out of your hand while you're using it. And there you can see the smooth portion where the clip goes into. Yep, that's smooth, GRN, and that's the texture there. There's also a lanyard hole if you need that. Not really necessary on a knife like this, but for those of you who enjoy having that option, it's there. And once again, this knife, because the lock mechanism is here and it does have dual thumb studs, this knife is ambidextrous. So if you're a left-hander, just swap out the clip to the other side and you're good. Of course, the Cold Steel logo will be upside down, but hey, that's a minor thing. I mean, honestly, this is a really good knife for what you get, especially the price. And there's a little fly interfering with my video. Just ignore that. How rude. So yeah, this is the Cold Steel Pro Lite. Here's a look at the box. It says Pro Lite clip on it. On the blade, it just says Pro Lite. The box is, well, it's nothing special, although it does look kind of nice and a little glossy. I mean, especially for Christmas, you could wrap up this knife, put it under the tree, maybe even a stocking stuffer. It is not that expensive. MSRP is $50, street price is $25. And honestly, for a knife of this quality, that is a heck of a deal, especially at $25. Even at $50, that's not a bad price at all, considering what you get, especially with that super strong triad lock. Now, disadvantages. Oh yes. Well, the problem with a triad lock is that it needs quite a bit of time to wear in. I've owned this knife for over a year, maybe closer to 2. I'm not 100% sure. And in that time, I mean, this is not one of those thumb stud opening, locking one-handers where you can just put your thumb here and flick it and this thing just opens up as fast as a switchblade. No, this is one of those where you have to ride the thumb stud all the way open because it is incredibly stiff. Incredibly stiff. And mine has not gotten looser. So yeah. And depressing the lock mechanism to unlock this is even worse. I mean, that is horribly stiff. I mean, yes, you do get an extremely strong lock mechanism. Maybe genuinely the strongest in the industry as of right now. But, ooh, if you're practicing opening and closing this knife a few times, you will get a blister on the end of your thumb or on the pad of your thumb when you go to depress the lock mechanism in order to close the knife. So that's the one disadvantage to really watch out for. But overall, this is really a great folding knife. a great bargain. You're getting that triad lock, which is extremely strong. Yes, it's horribly stiff, but that's the trade-off. If you want one of the strongest locking and least expensive one-handers, well, I was about to say currently on the market, but it was really just recently discontinued. Still, this is the one to get, the Steel Pro Lite. You should be able to easily find it at quite a few online shops that sell knives and carry cold steel products. Okay guys, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this review. Once again, extremely recently discontinued, but still should be available at quite a few online places. I think it's really worth picking up, especially at its current street price of only $25. All right guys, please stay safe. I'll see you next time.